the heck is this? Well, the little fella here on the left is called Devil, and the medium-sized fella on the right is called Troubadour, and I got one more big boy here. This is Poker. If you saw last week's Thanksgiving Day extravaganza, where we took a sneak peek at 2026's Game of the Year, you already know what this is, but just in case you haven't watched that fun little video, I'll lay it out for you. Battleyolk Rulebook. I'm sorry, it's called Battleyolk. This is the rulebook for Battleyolk. This is the alpha test, which I have been honored to participate in, and you're going to participate in it too, because I'm going to show you how the game works. But before I show you the game, and it's a mecha game, by the way, it just has this light theme of giant stompy egg-shaped robots, which I love, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to establish the bona fides of the authors. Skye Hernstrom is a wonderful, brilliant, and talented author of such books as The Vision of Sounu, and Thune's Vision. Get him at dmrbooks.com. Great author. He also, just for the Wargaming bona fides, this is a little bit of artwork that he did in a game that we played here on the channel. It's a solo fantasy war game called 2D Delves, Fantasy Skirmish Adventures. And I'll bet you if we take a look here, yeah, see, there you go, interior art, Skye Hernstrom. Playtesting and advice, Skye Hernstrom. He is associated with, who did this one? 4Color Studios? Yeah, there they are, 4Color Studios. In fact, his artwork also graces the pages of a game that we played here on the channel. One of the first games that we played was, see, there you go, little guy. Maybe you can see the influence there. This is Void Pirates, part of their 4Color system. It's a sci-fi skirmish game. Again, 4Color Studios. So he's no stranger to the hobby and just a creative genius. Brian Renninger, Walking Encyclopedia. He's got a blog. I'll try to remember to put a link to his blog down in the description. He does some serious scholarship, the kind of thing that a lot of the OSR blogs kind of did, but only ever really parroted the party line because they weren't really interested in doing the hard lifting. They just wanted to say what everybody thought so that they could get accolades for confirming all of the midwits are actually smart boys. I'm probably not winning any friends here. So let's talk a little bit about Battleyolk. But before we do, I'm not a fan of the giant robot genre. Never played Battletech. I don't think I've collected a few of the a few miniatures that I picked up for free from Alternative Armies. Maybe I'll play one of their games, or I don't know, maybe we'll step in. Maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is me getting over my inherent bigotries and prejudices. And the way that you do that is by presenting a game that is a streamlined, simple, but deep game with a light theme. Take a look at this. Here's what the artwork looks like. See, there you go. Now you can see. The guys come a long way, baby. This is what we're doing here. So there's your scale. That's probably, with my guys, let's take a look, see here. Maybe 10 millimeter, maybe 6 for fitting in there. Anyway, that doesn't really matter because what really matters is the gameplay. And the gameplay in this is really interesting. I want to walk you through it. First of all, there's a couple of really interesting choices made in this design. First, you'll notice that, well, let's take a look at the playing pieces first, because I think that's probably the important way to go. Remember those 3 robots I showed you at the beginning? There are 3 different sizes. Large, and we've got 6 options to choose from. We've got medium, and we'll cycle back after we've explained the rules a little more. And then we've got 6 different small guys. And I'm going to grab just 3 more. So here's our small Meg, with 2 G's, of course. Here's our large, so you can see the difference between them. And for those of you that know all about giant stompy robot games, what this means is something I can't tell you because I don't know anything about them. This is going to be my entree into the genre. You start off with a random large, a random medium, and a random small. That's called an omelet. 3 giant robots, at least in the basic game. And the play sheet is probably a good thing to look at for this because it'll give you an idea of what all we're looking at here, right? So if we just take a look, right, your Meg type, size, pilot name, what faction is he in? And I think I'm going to call mine like the Sisters of Easter because this is an Easter egger. Remember, you might hear the chickens in the background. And then I don't know what we're going to call this one yet. The Rhode Island Rockets, Rhode Island Reds. I don't know. We'll figure something out. I'll have to ask the wife. She knows more about chickens than I do. You write down your weapon systems, and as you can see, your small megs have 8 hit points. Your medium have 12, and your large have 10. No, see, your small have 8, your medium have 20, and your large have 32 hit points. Kind of. Because having looked at this, now we can cycle back to the fact that there are a couple of different ways to play the game. One is that when you take a point of damage, you put a line across each of these hit point boxes. And then you move on to the next box, and each box has one line. That's for the extreme 1990s tubular radical style of the game. Gets it done really quick. If you play the normal version of the game, each of these boxes has to be X'd out. In other words, a small meg has 16 hit points. The medium has 40 and the large has 64 hit points. Okay, so you can play with your omelet, small, medium, large, and you get done in half the time. 2 different choices for how much time do you want to spend bending over a table pushing pieces around. Now, the other interesting thing here is that rather than kitting out points, and I guess I could turn to that page one more time just to show you. You see the point costs in here? No, you don't, because there aren't any. Instead, you just roll. Roll a d6 here, roll a d6 here, roll a d6 here. You go to war with the forces you have, which are not necessarily the forces you want. Now, in my case, I wanted to showcase the entire game. So I have at least one each of each of the makes and models. But I'm going to have to randomly choose between the 3 green eggs and I can grab these down. Let me just drop the 3 green down real quick to show you what the difference are. So we've got, that's Troubadour. He's a medium. And the way you can tell the medium, I noticed their sizes were a little too close. So my medium have the big fat part at the head, and my large have the big fat part down at the bottom, right? So even though they're pretty close in size, you can still tell large from medium, which means I do still need to fulfill my promise. So there's my 3 large. So I'm going to have to pick one of these guys at random for the large. And then the 3 large for the other guys. For Team White, look a little something like this. We've got Fimp, Husky, and this should be Broom. There you go. So one of these 3, and you're good. Kind of interesting. You don't see a whole lot of random deployment these days, but that does help establish the kind of game this is. It's not necessarily a tournament-based game. Once you get familiar with the game, of course, you can start building out whatever kind of scenarios you want. If you want to send 7 little guys after a medium and a large and see what happens, go for it. The core game is simple. Play a set number of turns. Whoever has the most megs still on their feet wins the game. Again, you can do capture the flag scenarios, whatever you want. These guys have to cross the table. If they get half their force across the table, they win. Go ahead and grab scenarios from any game you want. They'll work fine with this. But for now, we're going to play our first few games using just that core 3v3, big, medium, and small going at each other. Let's talk about the gameplay itself now. Obviously, the little guys, now the game uses movement points, can move 10 hexes. The game is written in hexes. Don't stress about it. That just translates to inches, okay? 10 inches or maybe centimeters, depending on how you want to do it. I'll probably use inches. I have a playing space that's 24 by 30, so it's going to go quick. That's fine. Again, if we're playing the extreme mode, then, just getting you like all up in each other's faces right away, it's in keeping with the theme. All right, so we rolled D6. Whoever rolls highest has to move one of their megs. We alternate movement. I move 1, you move 1, I move 1, you move, so on and so forth. Once they've all moved, then we move on to shooting. And after shooting, we do melee. So if we've done our movement, we've done all of our shooting, and there's a weird little mechanic in here. We're going to go through this in more detail, but just to establish kind of what the whole turn thing does. After that, then we do melee. Any megs that are in contact with each other fight a melee. And it's not great for either of them. Gotta be honest with you. Probably not a great idea. And then the last thing we do is mindfulness, which I think is hilarious. It's not morale, it's not cleanup phase. It's let's just take a moment. Let's just get in touch with our inner wargamer. Let's just go ahead and make sure that the feng shui of the table is appropriate to what we're trying to achieve. I think that's great. But again, Brian and Sky, good friends of mine, so I am completely biased in my analysis of this. And I'm one of the world's foremost authorities on never playing a giant stompy robot game. So you can trust me. Let's talk about shooting now. It's rather interesting. Now, just to make things a little simpler, I'm going to do this. When your Meg shoots at somebody else. So here's our Broom is really mad at Troubadour, and he says, "Shut up, Mag." You can get used to hearing that joke, by the way. Okay, he says pew pew, and he shoots at Troubadour. So he's going to roll 3 dice, and you have to stipulate which die is which. In the rules, it says roll 1 die to hit and 1 die for damage. And then maybe you have to roll a critical. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this easy on myself. I'm going to roll all 3 dice at the same time. This is my 2-hit roll. This is the effect roll. Note I didn't say damage. This is the critical roll, which only becomes important if the effect roll says, now look at the red die. Why am I rolling all 3 at the same time? Just because it's fun. Just because I don't want to have to go, oh, what is that? That means, okay, now I got it. Where's my red? No. Don't even bother reaching over for another die. Just roll all 3. So we did our pew pew. And as you can see, our white boy. I dropped my my freebie that I got from a Kickstarter. I can't remember which one that's from. Island 23, I think. All right, pew pew. So as you can see, we are, and we'll measure base to base. That will be our standard. We are 3 inches away. We're shooting at a medium robot. If we were shooting at a big boy, that would be a little bit different. And there's range bands. So what we do is we say, if we're within 2 to 3 hexes, all right, 3 inches, then a 1 or a 2 is a miss, and a 3 to a 6 is a hit. Well, look, I rolled a 4, which means I hit. All right, so then we go to the damage situation. And as you can see, the damage die is a 6. How convenient. And 6 means, hey, you did a critical hit. So now we look at this die. I'm glad I already rolled it. Saves a little bit of time. All right, so here's the kicker. Normally we're firing at short range, but because we're firing at if we were firing at a big boy, we would go up a range band. If he was standing behind cover, here, look, here's some cheap cover. Oh, look, he's hiding, and he's kind of trying to shoot me from behind the corner of this Elmer's glue-shaped building, then I would shift down a range band. So in this case, I'd be firing here, even though I'm 3 inches away, wet fire on this one. So I rolled a 4, so I still hit. Now, the interesting thing is the effects die tells you what happens whether you hit or miss. The difference is if I hit, that means I check one chart to see what happens to the target. If I miss, I check a different chart to see what happens to my guy. Well, wait a minute, am I shooting myself in the foot? Those of you who have already played giant stompy robot games can guess what's about to happen. And bear in mind that the randomness of the effects die means maybe I do just a little bit of damage in the case of rolling a 1. Also, I generated some heat. Got to be careful with heat. If your systems overheat, you got to shut down and let them cool. Or you can keep going, push your luck, and every turn there's a chance that you just blow up because your power cores went full Chernobyl. But I didn't. In this case, I rolled a 6. So we can take a look at what that 6 means. The first thing to be aware of is that Broom is firing a cannon. It has a maximum range of the entire playing field. If you're beyond long range, you're only hitting on a 6. Does average damage of 5 and a maximum damage of 8. We've only got 15. Notice we have a misfire. If we have a misfire, the jam is cleared if the unit does not shoot during their next turn. Just means you got to shut down for the 1 turn. All right. So what happens? Now we look at this chart here that says the hit result chart. If the shoot roll succeeded, apply the results of the red die. Now that's yellow for me, okay? I go in the reverse order of a traffic light. Yellow means damage. And because I rolled a 6, I go to the critical hit chart. But as I said, if I rolled a 1, I only do half damage, half the average damage rating rounding down. In other words, because this cannon does 5 points of damage, if I'd rolled a 1 on the results, it only does 2 for this shot. Also, I add an overheat counter to the attacker. So Broom here unloaded a full clip, which means he's generating heat. On a 3 to a 4, we just use the average damage rating of the weapon. All right, so that's 5 points, unless we're at point blank range, in which case we use the max. So if I was firing at point blank range, again, if I'm firing at one of the big boys, I'm in that point blank range. I'm hitting with more of my shells, more of my rounds, more of my bullets. I'm doing a lot more damage. Oh, he's got a flamethrower. That's Contractor, by the way. I'm doing more damage, so I do 8 points against him because I'm at point blank range. Of course, I have to check on the critical hit chart, which means with a result of a 4, max damage times 2, I did 16 points of damage with that one shot. Got it? Right? Oh, if I'd rolled another 6, so if I hit and then I roll a 6 on the yellow and a 6 here, that roll right there, reactor explosion. Unit is destroyed. Roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, the pilot may eject, but the unit is destroyed. And then on a 5 or a 6, the unit and the pilot are destroyed. All units, friendly and enemy alike, within 3 inches take 10 damage. So you can have these wonderful little cascading failures where this guy blows up and the guy next to him blows up and the guy next to him. And you can see there's the possibility, and it's a pretty good chance, you're going to do some serious damage. This is where playing the extreme hyper ultra mode means the game is going to go crazy quick. The difference here, remember we said we did max damage with that critical times 2, 16 points of damage. We just reduced this medium unit. If we were playing the extreme version, then he would be left with just 4 hit points left. Okay. Alternatively, if we were playing just the normal version, we did 16 points of damage. He's still got these 24 left for that medium meg. So you can see it'll take a lot longer, but it doesn't necessarily mean to blow a guy up. But that does also mean there's going to be more of a chess match because you're going to have to do a lot more dealing with overheating. Now, on the other hand, what if the shoot roll failed? Well, so we're going to set our little die rolls back here. So I rolled, I rolled a 1, and then I rolled a 6, and then I rolled a 6 on the critical die, right? So if the shoot roll failed, apply the result. So on a 1, because I failed, then we look at this. And on a 6, oh, look, there's no results. That was actually pretty good. Oh, interesting. So I didn't notice this until just now. If I'd rolled a 1, then I have an overheat counter. All right. On the other hand, if I'd rolled a 3, misfire, I have to check the misfire section of the weapon profile. Okay, so the critical is only going to matter if we roll a 6 here, but just roll them all at the same time because it's fun and it's efficient. That's shooting. Let's talk about melee a little bit here. Melee works much the same way. You're going to roll the same 3d6, bing, bang, boom, and on a 2. And again, you have to be like close to a guy. There are rules for jumping. Some of the units can jump over terrain, and if they land on you, that would be good. Although, again, a little bit of the chess match here. If this guy moves, then well, what am I doing here? Let me just grab my jumpy boy. This is Dancer has the jumping ability. So Dancer says, a boing, and then he jumps to here, and they're in contact, and now we're going to do melee. Except green player was an idiot because Broom here hadn't moved, so Broom just moves away, and now he can shoot. They're not in melee. But if Broom had already moved and Dancer lands on him, then that's a different kind of attack. It's like a charge attack, right? In melee, once again, roll a d6 for hit and a d6 for results. I don't think we need the red one for this. We'll verify that. So for our hit, it was a successful melee attack, and with a 4, we assign damage. All right. If I missed, the attacking unit takes damage, right? A large unit. So if I missed, the attacker takes. Large units take 5, medium 3, small take 1. So if I had missed, then my attacker stumbles. He crashes remember we're doing abstract here. The victim of the jumping attack just enough out of the way that it didn't matter. Melee damage. Large units cause 12 damage with a successful attack and take 4 damage. So our big boy here runs up on Mr. Medium and he delivers a successful attack. Because he's big, then he is going to cause 12 damage. 6 boxes gone. But he takes 4 damage himself. This is what I meant earlier when I said melee ain't great for anybody, but sometimes it's all you got. If all your weapons have overheated, if they're damaged because of successful critical hits, and then then maybe the only thing you have left. If you roll, if you roll, we do want to roll all 3. Lol, we're learning as we go. We'll get it right when we play. If I roll a 6 on my melee result and a 6 on the hit result, then I roll on the critical. And if I roll an extra 6, so here we go. Let's just take a look at what that looks like. If I roll these, then the cockpit is destroyed, the pilot is killed, and you can basically take that robot off the field of battle. There you go. Then mindfulness. Now here's the other big thing. Remember, we're running around, we're doing our shooting. Pew, 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 pew. Okay. This guy gets destroyed. In the shooting phase, he still gets a chance to shoot back. So what I would do is I would knock him over. Hey, I shot you, you're dead. Okay. But we're taking turns with our shooting. So he's going to shoot back. And now when we get to our mindfulness phase, okay, this is where we can remove him. But let's go through this just in order. At the beginning of the phase, alternate removing destroyed units. Why would you alternate? Why does it matter? I don't know. Maybe it's based on the scenario. I'm sure you can imagine some reasons. You're a smart guy. Scenario says if you are if you're the last man standing on an objective, then you win. So I have to hope that I'm the last man standing. I take mine off, or I don't know, whatever. We'll figure it out as we go. All right, at this point, if your unit is if your unit is immobilized or its weapon systems are offline, the pilot may attempt to activate auxiliary systems. Put a repair counter next to the unit. So you're declaring, I'm doing repairs. Next turn, you can't move, shoot, or melee. All right? If you survive, you regain half your movement points, and a unit with weapon systems offline regains the use of its weapon system. All units remove 1 overheat counter. Well, that's kind of helpful. So if you've generated a number of overheat counters, I don't know how you generate more than 1 in a turn. At the beginning of this turn 5, we'll have to look at some of the special abilities. After removing 1 counter, a unit with overheat counters above its threshold must roll on the system's failure table. So some guys can take more heat. If you are large units, must roll if they have 4 overheat. Medium if they have 3, and small can only carry 2. For every counter above the threshold, add 1 to the roll. So if I've got a giant guy, he's been taking a beating, he's got 6 overheat counters. That means I have to add 2 to this roll. On a 1, no result. Anything above, oh boy, that's huge, man. If I roll a 4, 5, or a 6, my reactor goes kerblooey. Roll a d6. Same thing as we've seen that before, right? If you suffer a partial or total reactor shutdown due to system failure, you may override, right? And here's where the shutdown comes. Unit cannot move next turn. Total reactor shutdown. Cannot move or shoot next turn. I think you have to declare repairs before we do this. You do them in this order. At least that's the way I'm going to play it. Here's our alpha test for you. If you're watching, if you're out there, if anyone can hear me, make that explicit. Do this, then this, then this, then this, because that is a huge part of the choices that you have to make in this game. So now let's see if we can figure out what would cause us to generate more than 1 overheat per turn. Well, of course, yeah, because it's shooting. I guess maybe if you shoot with all your weapons, I don't know. Each of these systems, each of these megs does have some benefits, some drawbacks. Poker, got the cannon, the missile, the 2 chain guns, but he's out of warranty. Every turn, roll a d6. On a 6, he cannot move. Well, that's kind of fun. Tubby, minus 1 inch movement per turn. Remember, we said these guys can move 4. Not this husky boy. He can only move 3. Shiner, in melee, he only hits on a 5 or a 6. He's a shooter, not a fighter. Peacenik, he's a pretty chill guy. His heat threshold is increased by 1 overheat token. All right, so instead of 4, he can carry 5, which gives him a little bit more survivability. So some interesting things here. Missile tokens, and then, it's really easy. It says missiles, anime missiles. Pods can fire swarm attacks, shift up 1 range band, and make 3 attacks. The unit cannot fire another system while using a swarm attack. So there you go. Well, he's got 2 chain guns. Now notice all the weapons aren't represented on the guy. That's fine. So let's take a look at what these do. Flamethrower carries 2 additional shots for a total of 5. And that's because each of these weapon systems has some fun little special rules as well. Here you go. This answers my question. If I have an energy cannon, then when let's see, I do average damage of 8. I do medium damage, max damage of 14. And then SR is special rules. If fired at point blank range, the attacker suffers 4 damage. Oh, right. It's an energy cannon. You cook yourself. You're a little too close, man. It's like the classic melt-a-gun from another game that I haven't played. I mean, I have played Warhammer 40k, but it's been a while. And I at least know about it. Cultural osmosis. You know what I'm saying. All right, M, if we misfire, then in addition to the things we talked about before, you add 3 overheat counters. All right, which makes sense, right? And so I wonder if Flamethrower carries 3 shots, unless you've got Jalapeno, who's got 5 shots for his Flamethrower. And then for special rules, add 3 overheat counters to the target unit after a successful attack. So if you hit somebody with a Flamethrower, if you roast them, if you go full, what was that guy's name? The Marshmallow Man? Stay Puffed? Full Stay Puffed on him. When you hit the guy, then he also takes 3 overheat counters, in addition to any that he earns over the course of a turn. Apply max damage to the attack on a misfire. Apply max damage to attacker, and mark all ammo expended. Add 3 overheat counters to the attacker. That ain't great. That ain't great. It's high risk, high reward kind of game here, people. Small missile pod only does 4 average dice, 6 medium, but it does have 6 salvos. They may fire at a target partially obscured and ignore penalty. In other words, indirect fire. You can fire at a unit whose line of sight is blocked by a friendly unit as long as the 2 units are at least 3 inches away from each other. And of course, if your guidance system fails, the missiles lock onto the unit closest to the target. Thimp tries to shoot him. And bear in mind, this is he could be further away, right? I misfired. Whoops. Sorry for the blue on blue action there, Mr. Broom. Good stuff. Lots of wacky stuff can happen in this game. I know I'm going through this just as a typical flip through, but I want you to understand when we sit down and play this next week, what all's going on. Because I'm not going to go through all of this. We'll go through like the first turn or 2, but I think this is a great game. It looks to me calibrated very well for a 3-on-3. I'm going to be hard pressed to remember all these rules, but the inclusion of these wonderful, I made this one sheet up myself. I just chopped it up and made that. So now I can fit both teams on one page. If I was making this game, and so we got Team Red, Force Blue, I would actually make a single page with 3 Battleyolk sheets or rosters on it, 1, 2, 3, so I can have my whole omelet right there on the plate, just the way I like it, with extra cheese, extra bacon. No, not bacon, because we do not want to overheat. Maybe we go with a little bit of ham on this one. Little Western style omelet. Different kind of game. I'm going to close out by just pointing out, this is the kind of game that we used to see a lot of in the hobby. When I wore a young man's parachute pants, when I was still in my breakdancing prime, I was kind of a nerd. I was never a breakdancer. Dragon Magazine used to be worth reading. I don't even know if it's still around anymore. Dragon Magazine, about every 3rd issue would have a great... You've seen them here on the channel, right? We played Dinosaurs versus Army Men. Or is it Army Men versus Dinosaurs, right? There's a little 6-page, real simple... I mean, this one's a little more than 6 pages. But real simple games, lighthearted, the kind of thing you could introduce the family to, or some friends who weren't really gamers. You kind of put stuff together. This really is one of those wonderful throwback games that I'd like to see more of in the hobby. I think there's probably a ton of them on itch.io, but they don't get a whole lot of publicity, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this today, because it's a great game. I don't know how to get it. Check back next week, because by then I'll have talked to the creators a little more, and if they're going to put this out for an open play test, if you think you might want to give this a shot, let me know. In fact, they swing by the channel sometimes. So if you really want to contact them and ask for a copy of this, just flood the comments section with requests. This looks amazing. And I think it does. I think it hits that sweet spot where a game like Battletech is a little too over the top. There's a little few too many buttons going on all at the same time. A little bit too much to track. You really have to be one of those big brain, high level TISM enjoyers to get everything out of it. And I love you guys. You guys are great. But for my money, I kind of like just dial it back just a little bit. I don't need the like full 140 plus IQ nuclear scientist. Can we just go with something a little more like in the 120 to 130 range? That's really where I'm comfortable. And I think Battleyolk does that with a side helping of, look, we're not taking, these are eggs, right? Now, I made mine out of styrofoam, but you could use just your regular Easter eggs. And I don't know, you could actually just use regular mags. You could buy, look through the old, dollar bin at your store for the clicky Battletech miniatures and find stuff that looks like this. Is there one with a flamethrower? Hey, you got your contractor right there. Make sure you get your money up front. You got one with a big cannon and a little pod on the side. You got your Husky. You got your big chonk. Lordy's coming. Looks like a lot of fun. I hope you guys will tune in next week where we do a little 3v3, put together a couple of omelets, have a big feast of carnage. Till next week, go watch the other 2 episodes and know that I'm praying for you.